Alright, video number 2. You know, I was just talking about Sia, chandelier, and the video that I see as being genius. Which way are we going? And should we do this video or should we walk? So I was just kind of getting a little exercise, stretching my legs, walking around. I miss, you know, having my regular yoga practice from back in the day when yoga was really good. Sadly, it no longer is, and that's pretty much a fact. For anyone who was lucky enough to be part of a movement, once the pandemic hit and everyone started to dwindle, what's left is some sort of hodgepodge fusion of God knows what. I'm sorry to say. It's lost its sanctity, it's lost its seriousness, except for Ashtanga. I forgot Ashtanga yoga school would be the only good place to go if you can afford it. It's very expensive. But it could be worth it to you to have a true, genuine, authentic practice. My brain is so filled with being upset by whatever studios have come along to create. It really likes to create new populations of people, or there are different communities around the world or the United States, I guess, and maybe they decide to create new groups that have new mindsets. Sadly, sadly, the better yoga group was between 2003 and 2020. That's about it. So we'll just leave it at that. And, I don't know what to say. But anyway, someone walking on thin ice by throwing the dice in the air in the game of life. Anyway, this song came up because a Christian Dior ad, as I was talking about in my last video, popped up for the new season, and they have a different song. I kind of forget what the song is, but I would realize Christian Dior had these really good long length ads per se, where they would actually, you can see like almost the entire show of a Christian Dior fashion show. I don't know anything about fashion, so but I do know good artists and design when I see it, and that includes the design of clothing. It includes music, choreography, and I just, for some reason, after many years of not really paying attention necessarily to Christian Dior or, fashion people, what have you, it's done. I was like, I can't believe how good they are. So they know something about how to reach all kinds of people. So, or people who appreciate, very high level execution of art in many ways that is expressed. So we'll leave it at that. Now here's someone who's the opposite. Yukon. They know how to honk horns. So honking horns has become like apparent all of a sudden. I had a video the other day and it was like everyone's honking horns all of a sudden. So you could say, well, warmer weather, more cars, maybe more stuff is going on. People are honking all over the place because everyone's sort of a wreck. I don't know if that's it, but I do know there was a shooting, and the next day there were so many people honking horns and enraged. Like, they had road rage. They're all over the city, honking here, honking there. I was like, could there be a connection between the shooting, then the presence of all the people who have to figure out what happened, and then regular people driving around having road rage? It's like a Columbine documentary. Could there be a connection between the energies that were emanating after the shooting? And everyone's on edge, Everyone's got short tempers. And is there more to it? You see what I mean? Like, what makes people super angry one day or agitated, other than not having enough money and having to do sucky jobs? One of the people honking happened to be a bus driver, but I already know the job sucks, for one. they're supposed to stay and remain on a schedule for 2. All you need are a couple cars pulling out, button in front, whatever. That's, you know, and you're done. You know, that's it. You hate everyone in the universe. Totally get it. So that's understandable. Right? In the game of life, walking on. Which way should I go? We'll just do a little walk in here. I figured sort of had a little break because of Easter. Clientele have sort of switched up their schedules, so I'm in a block of time of wandering around the city aimlessly, trying desperately to make a point. I don't know what that point was, but anyway, they had a guy. Oh, he's still there. There's a guy, you know, speaking up there probably about the Columbia University situation. I think that's what it's about, and sort of the threat of deportation of the guy who sort of rallied together people for protests relating to the Israeli-Palestinian issue, and so forth and so on. And how American is it to handle people a certain way? You see what I mean? So he's bringing up, like, are we a democratic nation or aren't we? And so forth and so on. So I don't know. I stay off of hot topics these days. I had to learn the hard way. I got targeted. I don't know what you call it, but I talk about it a lot in my videos starting in 2011. January of. My world got turned upside down. I don't really understand why exactly it happened. I do know it was designed to try to drive targets crazy. I looked around for other people, like, are other people experiencing what I'm experiencing? Like, what is it? It is akin to being like the movie The Insider with Russell Crowe and him targeting the tobacco industry, and they showed examples of him being harassed and how scared he was, and, you know, all that, intimidated and so forth and so on. So anyway, we won't have to get on that topic, but because of that, the powers that be in the universe would say, never show up to a protest again, never show up to a protest, never show up to a protest, never show up to a protest, never show up to a protest. I was kept away from protests, kind of invisibly. If there was a God in the sky, like, it's just better to stay away. And back in 2011, 12-ish, they had Occupy Philadelphia. They had the big Occupy protests. I'm not really part of the inner loop or inner world of those protests groups, but I was curious. I actually did protest in 2004 in New York City with United for Peace and Justice, and I developed a voice because of it, and I was like, oh, people really do this. And then we had LGBT ones and abuse of power ones in the early and mid 2000s, but by 2011, that was the end of that. So, okay, have a great day.